Greetings, friends. In case you haven't noticed, this is the only channel that truly tells you about the majesty of this world. That makes you see and appreciate all the incredible things this world has to offer and discover. That speaks of the most mystical and forbidden, free of dogmas and earthly beliefs, of kindness and hope. This is the only channel that gives you the wisdom and the vision to educate for the future. Telling you about the real ancient alchemy and the energies that involve all the amazing processes that we use in our daily basis and which have all their connection with the ancient stolen and hidden knowledge, with the forbidden and magical. In the past videos we have been talking about alchemy and magic, about how the technology doesn't exist, how they lied to us in terms of ancient history of all the transformation processes that things entail. They minimize them so that we don't see the wonderful. An example of this is mathematics. Why them function in this world? Digital means digits or numbers, which is an analogy after all. The correlation that exists between the golden ratio and natural symmetries, geometry, and the geometric structures that make up matter. I also talked to you about how photographs are alchemy, about silicon-based RAM memories which can store vivid fragments of reality. This screen you're looking at is alchemy, cause its components are not created by humans, but instead by the same intelligence that created nature. They don't want us to revalue the old knowledge, and that's why they don't teach it to us anymore, so that we do not revalue the creation. Did you know that this September, the first hard drive in history gets 65 years old since created? It's, as we are told, one of the most important revolutions in history. The first RAM memory that came out has 5 megabytes, and a truck was needed to move it. Today, a small device stores more than 32 gigabytes and costs less than $5. The first device was worth $50,000. Notice how alchemy is always about perfecting, on seeking the improvement. How they have been experimenting and perfecting all these materials with energetic memory. At the launch of the first storage disk in our history, the presentation of the Hemp computer on the 13th of September of 1956 started a technological revolution. Each computer had just 5 megabytes of storage capacity compared to 200 terabytes, 200 million megabytes, available today. The RAMC was the first processor with auxiliary magnetic disk memory. Being that magnetism is a force discovered and described first by alchemy. These disks and this processor allow the availability of separating the data and updating it in fractions of a second, and thus obtain any information stored in this virtual energy memory. This gave a great impulse to the development of today's processes. We have already seen how all the rock in this world was once wood. How wood is purified and transformed by this world through alchemy to give creation to the different layers and elements of silicon or carbon. storing an imprint of the energy lines used, as if it were a photograph. Rock and wood, as well as water, hold the Akashic records. That is, that energetic imprint. Metals are also created through the tremendous processes of heat and pressure produced by this world. His alchemy gives rise to each and every one of the known elements. The carbon, through various purifications and transformations, becomes what we call graphite, which can also be done artificially through alchemy. Notice how as higher the purity of the element, the more conductive it is. That is to say, that the energy flows better and faster through them, without making any damage. Just like the Orphic egg symbol. This seems to be very normal, but it is not. It is something impressive when we realize the prevailing reality. The energy flows better, depending on the purity of the material. And everything requires alchemy to be purified and transformed. Even us. That's why this property called electrical conductivity always depends on the atomic and molecular structure of the material. That's why not everything is conductive. It depends on the alchemical purification process in which said material is found. That is why not all materials are the same. Carbon purification processes give rise to materials, such as the aforementioned silicon, or others like graphite or diamond, which actually is the best thermal conductor at room temperature, and also has a conductivity of more than 2000 watts per Kelvin degree, which is 5 times higher than the best metals like copper. Is no need to say that it is not convenient, nor is it profitable yet to use diamonds, since obtaining them is extremely expensive and difficult. Diamonds as such have impressive mysteries, ones that I will talk about in a future video. They are not so expensive, rare and valuable for nothing. Don't think that they are simply luxurious decorations. Everything in this world has a hidden alchemical reason. Secrets of ancestral information that they carry inside, and that not everyone know how to access. In 2004, scientists at the University of Manchester isolated a monolayer thick carbon atoms from graphite. That is to say, the carbon, already made graphite naturally, was further isolated and purified, separating it into its basic components. Process that in ancient times was considered alchemy. In order to obtain a fundamental unit of what is now called graphene. That is, a submillimeter purified section of that natural graphite mineral that is common in the Earth's cortex. Cortex. Just like a tree. The technical capacity to transform coal, through the new advances in the technological alchemy, opens up a new range of future possibilities to improve this world. Although, we already know that they will end up using it to make weapons and control. Thanks to its properties, this material will allow the development of new technologies, which are nothing but applications of that same alchemy. Do you see how alchemy should be used to provide comfort and enlightenment? Recently, scientists from the University of Arkansas have just discovered, after an exhaustive investigation with the graphene, that even this could be a new source of energy. This generated energy comes only from the mere movement of this material in response to ambient temperature. and according to this team, it could be used to capture clean and unlimited energy. Capture? From where? From the ether perhaps? Or exhaled by the same material? They don't tell us. They only say that, to put this into practice, it would be necessary to apply nanotechnology to capture the energy released. And that this discovery could transform our daily environment by allowing any object to send, receive, process, and store information with the energy provided only by ambient temperature in interaction with the movement of these materials, such as graphene. This is explained by the professor of physics at the University of Arkansas, Paul Thibodeau, who has received a provisional patent for the development of the vibration energy harvester, in who's already working at the Naval Research Laboratory, where he is shaping a small system that would include a negatively charged graphene microsheet suspended between two metal electrodes. Thus, when the graphene spins up, it will introduce a positive charge on the top electrode. In turn, when it moves downwards, it will charge the one at the bottom, so that infinite alternating current will be created from this movement. Although each wave measures only a few nanometers, it can produce 10 kilowatts of energy, which would power a wristwatch forever, without ever needing to charge it. This could give rise to more slavery, if used in the wrong way. Being able to feed sophisticated biomedical control systems such as chips and implants, detectors and locators, microphones and cameras, among other surveillance methods. We have already seen the Agenda 21, and now the Agenda 2030. The ecological and health tyranny that they seek to implant. Realize how everything is linked. I can't talk too much about it. But soon they will want to put sensors on us. Sensors on all things. And on nature boundaries. Now knowing that there are already millionaires buying land at wholesale, in future maybe they won't even allow us to leave the cities. It's too important that we stand against all these. They are experimenting with these energy storing materials in a quest for more control and more power. Not to help us. They seek to isolate us from the energy of the earth. Supply it. All these energy storage technologies such as graphene, or even silicon, are now created with alchemy, to emulate what has already been created by nature. Let us remember how in ancient times exists alchemy as a way to understand and copy nature, to replicate its processes, seeking to emulate it, but generally without achieving it. I classify the alchemy in good or evil, according to its balance with the world. The evil alchemy leaves so much contamination, cause nature cannot dispose of them adequately. Now we will analyze the same alchemy, but the good one. Some very impressive inventions that clearly denote sustainability and an appreciable communion with nature. Producing no waste, or even reusing it. These are hemp batteries, made by alchemy only with vegetable fibers. Incredibly, are better than lithium and graphene. Really? These hemp batteries have been found to perform 8 times better than lithium-ion and 5 times better than graphene. Now do we understand why this plant and many others are banned and demonized as if they were criminals? Even the first T model, made by Henry Ford, was made in part from hemp bioplastic, and powered by hemp biofuel, only they don't teach these things in schools. Now, with vehicles that already run on batteries, is the beginning of the monopoly of these other energy sources as well. The comparison between these hemp batteries and lithium batteries has only been proven in the laboratory. Still no prototypes or hopes that the Silicon Valley giants would allow this to be commercialized. But the results are extremely promising. Realizing again how plants are gifts of great purity and conductivity. The hemp conductivity experiment was made by Robert Moray Smith, who has amassed a large amount of followers on his YouTube channel. He observed a volts per ampere curve in both hemp and lithium batteries, discovering that the power under the hemp cell was a value of 31, while the one of the lithium cell had a value of only 4. Although he does not claim to have proven anything, he said that the results of his experiment showed that the performance of hemp cell is significantly better than lithium cell. This, in accordance with ancient writings, is not a real surprise. Possibly these batteries were already used in ancient times, having records of electric accumulators long before what we are told, which presumably may even be the reason why the experiment was carried out. In 2014 too, scientists in the US have found that waste fibers from hemp crops can be turned into ultra-fast supercapacitors, which are, in their words, better than graphene. Graphene is a synthetic carbon material that is lighter than aluminum, but bulletproof. So its use was discovered by war research, not for the search for peace or human welfare. In addition to the fact that its manufacture is excessively expensive. The hemp version, on the other hand, is not only better in conductive terms, but it costs 1/1000th of the price, even less. And it's available for everyone. The difference is that it does not kill or subdue anyone. But how do they get hemp to store so much energy? Yes, you guessed right. With alchemy. Once the crust has been cooked, it dissolves the lignin and hemicellulose, leaving behind these carbon nanoplates, a structure composed of pseudographene. By fabricating these sheets into electrodes and adding an ionic liquid as an electrolyte, his team created supercapacitors that operate over a wide temperature range and high energy density. They cooked leftover bast fiber, the inner bark of the hemp plant, the one that usually ends up in landfills or burned by the military, transforming them into vegetable carbon nanoplates, a process called hydrothermal synthesis. Modern scientists are nothing but non-holistic alchemists. In an interview with the BBC, Dr. David Meatlin, of Clarkson University in New York, clarified, and I quote, "People ask me, why hemp? I say, why not? We are making materials similar to graphene for 1/1000th of the price, and we are doing it with garbage." However, the fact that it is from hemp is important, due to its robust chemical structure and rapid growth, as well as the purity of the carbon in this particular plant. So, neither the governments or the scientists will tell you the real reason behind the magic of this plant. Dr. Meatlin's team, through certain alchemical procedures, turned the hemp fibers into supercapacitors. That is, he transformed them into energy superstorage devices. They said, by their side, conventional batteries are just trickle-down reservoirs of energy, while supercapacitors can rapidly discharge all of their charge, as a torrent, and recharge it again the same way. This makes them ideal for machines that require strong bursts of power, such as large machines and electric cars. Micklin says that he can do really interesting things with biowaste. With banana peels, for example, you can turn them into a dense block of carbon. He calls it pseudographite, and that's great for making sodium-ion batteries. Do you see it? With alchemy, all residue or waste can be reused in special ways to produce energy. If you look at the structure of the hemp fiber, it makes sheets with a large surface area, and that's very conductive to make supercapacitors. They also work down to 0 degrees Celsius, having some of the best combinations of power, charge, and energy. In late 2018, Texas-based electric motorcycle company, Alternate, announced that it was working with Micklin to power motorcycles for its Revolt electric motorbikes subsidiary. So there you have it. Not just batteries, but hemp biofuel. This provides a better alternative than oil, lithium, or plutonium. We can literally make light from the waste. With alchemy, and knowing the hidden procedures. Those that should be known for everyone, but instead, they hid in them. But let's continue. Another interesting discovery that denotes the perfection of nature against human alchemy is a new membrane made from wood, capable of filtering salt water and making it drinkable. This process requires a lot of energy and infrastructure, but it is a faster and cheaper long-term alternative for the purification of salt water. In this process, the salt water is pumped through the layer, made of a purified plant polymer, with very fine and narrow pores that trap the salt, allowing only the water molecules to pass through. It is ironic how after trying so many chemical processes, and even with frequency waves, to try to clean seawater of salt, it was as simple as using nature and the same filtration that occurs in trees and palm trees. So, Jason Reen, a researcher at the University of Princeton, mentioned, and I quote, "Traditional water filtration requires high-pressure pumping to squeeze out the water, which requires a lot of energy. Fortunately, in this method, the water is absorbed naturally by the wood molecule, so it is very efficient from an energy point of view. In addition, it does not use plastic materials or fossil fuels, like many other membranes for water filtration. The membranes used are made from very thin plates of wood, which is subjected to a treatment, so that, when heated, the water flows over one side and vaporizes. In this way, the steam travels through the pores of the membrane towards the colder side, leaving behind the salt that accumulates in the membrane. The water thus condenses and accumulates as fresh drinking water. This new process requires much less energy, since it does not require boiling all the salt water, but only maintaining a high temperature, while the membrane acts, making the process faster. With this method, approximately 20 kilograms of water are filtered per square meter of membrane per hour. This new process, if released in its patents and taught, could open doors to more sources of sustainable drinking water for humans in places without access to springs. In a previous video, we already analyzed the mysteries related to these water sources that sprout from the rocks. The reason to be unverifiable in its origin and operation. We saw how if you look for the origin of the great rivers like the Nile and the Amazon, you will not find any information about where these gigantic rivers begin. Same rivers that have emanated water for thousands of years. Then, where do these rivers come from? We also saw the Ollantaytambo in Venezuela, and how its waterfalls can sprout water from its top at all time. There's no logical explain for the water keeps sprouts pure from the most high place of the region. Cause there's no pump and no rain. We already seen how really the water cycle works. How these can only function on a plane, flowing by altitude, and how is also an alchemical process. Nature is always the most pure alchemy, the one that makes us comprehend how the world really functions. The neutral and pure alchemy. Watch the previous videos. This is one of the most upper place where the Amazons sprout. It is a very rare and beautiful video that confirms the majesty of this world and its mysteries, and how everything was created with a purpose. There are many secrets that are just being revealed about the operation of that other giant world that existed in the previous cycle. Investigate all this and stop being simple spectators. Stop conforming to what we are taught in schools. They are only interested in you to be a good slave and working all your life for simple paper. Educating your children to do the same. We need to educate for the future. Know this as real and see all the deceptions under which we are subjected. Let us educate children so that they know how to appreciate the benefits of this world, the supreme intelligence behind, to care for and educate their future children in the same virtues. Share. We who know the Illuminati lies are the ones who will make the real change. We speak the truth and we will be heard. You just have to wake up from the great deception. The system does not work. Time to get out. Reactive Factory Project.